Let's start. Just give me a couple minutes here to get going, and then we'll go from there. Hey guys, sorry, super late today. Apologies. Oh boy, hold on. Is that it? No. Is that it? Yes, that's it. Good. Go from there. 1 second. All right, let's go. Sorry, pretty active this morning, so just bear with me. Let me get this going here, and there we are. Is that me yet? Wow, too many windows open. Good Lord, too much. Let's try this one. Found you. Yay! Too much open. Boomer trying to use the computer. Boomer and his computer. I could probably do a video. Talk about meta. I could probably do a video of me using the computer. Everyone probably watch it too and go, oh my God. All right, cool. And what we're going to do is move you over here. And then what we're going to do is move you right there. And then we want to move you here. And then we're staring at the screen. Perfect. Good. Got it. That didn't take too long. It was painless. Couple things. Yeah, you got some data here and everyone's like all giddy about it. Okay. I don't think it's going to affect anything, quite frankly. And I think what people are going to do is take advantage of that. And I think they're going to take and move on it. If you, well, let's click over. Let's do it. Let's just do it. it'll just be easier for us to review that data and go from there instead of just talking about it so that you guys can see it for yourselves. And I think that's just a better way to go. So let's get to that data right here. We'll do it this way. We'll stop that. Hold. Sorry about that. You're going to have to put up with me for a second. And there we go here. And then we'll click it. Good. I gotta leave this up for a sec. Great. Make sure you got what you need. Perfect. All right. Core PCE, 0.1 versus 0.2. I mean, I think everybody's got to kind of relax. Personal spending is dropping. Price, PCE price index 0.1 versus 0.2. Price index year over year, 2.4 versus 2.5, 2.8 versus 2.9. Considering how fast everything is dropping, I'm not overly surprised by it, but I think that, you know, you still got some other data at 10 o'clock. You have quad witching today. To think like this little number is going to make everything better after what he did on Wednesday is pretty much delusional. There's nothing about this that's going to make it better. So I can see why we moved. We're grossly oversold. And that was a real nice bounce. And I'm glad that we bounced. So what we would do at the bounce is just watch that level, right? That's what we like to do. We like to watch those 1 minute bars. I mean, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're holding that. So this is your battleground. And so far you've tested it and then you bounced and you couldn't make a new high. Oh, let me flip back. Hold on. This would be super helpful if you could see what I see, wouldn't it be? Let's go to that right there. Cool. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to mark off these levels on those 1 minute bars and then just see the battle, right? So by seeing the battle, what this does is it just allows us to understand how this is going. So in other words, you rallied up and then all of a sudden down, and then you're rallying up and then down. And so this is your demarcation line and you're fighting to hold that 1% gain. What you don't want is you don't want to break this. And what I like to do is just put a little alert there. So when I'm in the throes of trading, I know what's going on and then can kind of go from there. Give me 1 second here because I have a bunch of stuff on. So we'll see what's going on. And that didn't even move it, did it? Didn't even lift it. Not even a hair. Interesting. Okay. That's interesting. All right. So that's definitely important to me, to say the least, to watch that ES. But let's go here and watch the NQ. And then what you're going to see is the same exact thing, and you've already broken. So for me, the nice thing about today, and a lot of people won't do it, is going out there and saying, yeah, I do think that, you could probably rally, back up. You're pretty oversold, but you're going to want to watch this level. And God forbid if you crack here. And you're also going into probably a government shutdown over the weekend. You have a whole litany of other issues. You can always bounce. I'm not sure that you're going to, but you always could. And maybe you do. Maybe you do bounce. But this is the demarcation line that I would start with and go from there. I think it's pretty obvious that there's a lot more pain out there than people think there is. You're trying to hold in here off that one piece of data like, no, everything's fine. Everything's not fine. But you're grossly oversold. And when you're this oversold, you can bounce. Now, I don't know that you're going to because it's quad witching, and I think they're going to dump and get out of the market. And then I think they're going to come and take a look at everything on Monday and Tuesday and figure out what they want to do from there. That's what I think is going to happen. But, we'll see. What's of interest out there that I think is important. So MSTR, you got to 300, 304 is actually your 50-day moving average. And you kind of held, I marked it off. It looks like I got rid of it. And you kind of held that and you bounced off of it. You had this enormous short squeeze, which is exactly what this was off that PCE number. So you're going to want to watch that 314 if you take out the high. Maybe you go flat and sit there and just bleed out the options all day. You never know how this stuff's going to play out. I'd be, again, super careful on days like today because you don't get a ton of follow through because it's quad witching. On quad witching, you have all those options expire. And essentially what happens is between all the asset classes, everything just gets tighter and tighter and tighter as the day gets on. And people get very frustrated and they don't understand why, but it's all arbitrage between all the asset classes. And then as the day goes on, and I'm just showing volatility, not movement, then the volatility will start increasing into the end of the day, right? And this is not up or down. It's just, this is what happened. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. It's certainly something to watch and kind of go from there. So from my perspective, I always look at this stuff and go, okay, how's this going to play out? Well, they're going to try really hard today to get this stuff as flat as possible to the open and just bleed people out. That's going to be their goal. And they might be successful at that today. They might be successful off the open, that's for sure, on the news. But what we want to do is just watch our levels and then go from there. As far as, do you buy today because you're oversold? I mean, you can try, it can't hurt. They're definitely going to squeeze shorts off the open. I mean, that's very clear that that's where this is going. So I don't see any reason to think that that's not going to be the case here, that they're not going to squeeze shorts. I do think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do a decent job of it off the open. The question is, for how long does that last? And that I don't have an answer to. You are pretty oversold. But do I feel the need that I have to jump in because of the, this movement? Not really. Could you go flat today on the NASDAQ? Yeah, you could, just as easily as you could be down, pretty considerably as well. So I think that that's really the way that I look at it. You could just as easily be down as you could be, up. People have to understand that you're basically unwinding option positions today. And December is the end of the year one. So then everyone repositions themselves. But yeah, you absolutely could. On the news front, I'll get asked about Lilly. And, the NBO news is obviously very good for Lilly. I don't know how this goes because I just really don't know. If I was in Lilly and I was down, I might be able to take advantage of this and want to get involved with it and get out of the way and go from there. Like, okay, I was at 750 and now this morning I'm at 820. I might just be like, cool, I get to hit the sell button and get out. Like, you might see that. You might see that on the NBO side. If you look at like the NBO side, this is definitely, again, something that you'd probably want to watch how that plays itself out. But I don't know that you're going to get a lot of love there today. People are like, oh, it's not that far off. Like, oh no, it's far off. So that kind of stuff is definitely things that I want to watch, and I certainly want to pay attention to. Let me just see something for a second, see how this is going. Okay. When you have a drug and that drug is not as good as the other drug, like why would you ever buy the other drug? Like, it makes zero sense to me. Like, you wouldn't see that, right? So I do think that that's really important for people to get. I don't really see the reason for that, like why people are going to buy the other drug. I just don't know why they would. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So then we'll go from there. But I think that this could, any rally, I'll be looking at shorting this thing and go from there. And just expect like a wild, in my opinion, expect a very wild day. And this is what you're seeing, this kind of stuff, and you can play it, but just don't be around when the music stops. That's kind of how I look at these kinds of days. But I do expect them to play around, and you can kind of see that already. And just use these levels as guides. I think that's the best thing you could do. Up, down, tested, held. Does it make a new high? Maybe. And if it does, then you want to take a look at it, right? And I would do the same thing with anything, but just understand where you are. So like, take something like this, for example. You're going to have to understand, like, yeah, maybe you do rip over the open, and maybe you do push. Where are you an hour later? That's really going to be like the question. Like, if you're day trading and scalping, it's one thing, but if you're trying to feel like, oh, I need to buy here, I don't know. I don't know that that's going to be the best idea. I think you're going to want it to let this stuff settle in. That's my personal opinion. I'll trade what happens, but if you take a look at something like this and you're like, oh, that's definitely institutional buying, and you realize that in 20 minutes you just moved, 20 points. So you're moving $1 a minute. That's not institutional. That's just people panicked with their shorts. And maybe rightfully so. We'll see what happens. But I do think it's presenting an opportunity for those that want to short. And if you're long, I definitely think it just presented an opportunity for people to lock in some stuff and get the heck out of the way. I think you got to be a little. I think you got to be a little out there to think that this is over because of one data point. Like that is like the best data point, considering they just cut rates, right? And they have access to that data, so it's not like they don't. What I'd like to do is just see how the market holds after it opens. So in other words, can we get below 450 again on the 10-year? If you can, that's something you could work with, for sure. And I'm not going to have time for a lot of questions today. I will take some, but I'm not going to have a lot of time. But I would watch this. Like, can I break 450, or is 450 the new normal? If I can break 450 and you start seeing that, then maybe there's something to it. What I would do is I would understand that if people are flat on their trades, they're going to get to a point where they're going to be like, oh, cool, I get to, lock this in. Like that's kind of where your head would be, right? Like if you, like here, this is where I'm going with it. Let me explain it this way so that you can kind of get where I'm going with this. So like you went to bed and you were long MicroStrategies. You come in, it's at 300. After you're done puking, you go and take a look at it. You're handed a gift, and now you're like, just get me out. And one of the biggest things you can always do with these names is just watch how do they act when they get to the previous close. Like they couldn't, like on that, they couldn't get out fast enough. Now, if you see this behavior, I'll show you. If you see this behavior later in the day where you're doing this, right? And the day goes on and you're through the quad witching, it's like 132, and you see something like that, well, that might be of interest. But other than that, I don't know that you really want to, I don't know that you really want to go crazy. I think you're better off just, letting things settle down and kind of going from there. That's my opinion of this. I do think that this is presenting a nice opportunity for people that want to put shorts on to get involved with them and pick the names that they're most interested in doing. And we'll go from there. But that's kind of where my head is with it. You are grossly oversold. So that's why you have the potential to bounce the way that you do. I put this together. I actually showed it last night. I think, is it this one? Percentage above the MAs? Is that the one? No, I did another one. Is this it? Breath. Let's do this one. Come on. Where, you're at like on the 5-day, the 20, the 50, like you're completely, utterly washed out in the very short term. So you could bounce here. I don't know, man. It's a tough call. Really is a tough call because I don't see the need for the bounce. I think the guide to the bounce might just be to look for something like, go back to mean and go that way with it. I think the way to look for something with the bounce would be to look at more of the global positioning. I think that's the best way to do it. So like, what does the dollar do, right? Does the dollar stay down? What does the 10-year do? Does the 10-year go and break 450? Maybe if you can get signals like that, that might give you more confidence that this stuff will hold its rally, and we'll go from there. So I'll take some questions, but obviously I apologize for being so late. It's going to be really helped this morning. Just so much going on. Yeah, today's going to be one of those days where I think people are going to get chopped up pretty hard. I tell everybody to avoid these kinds of days if they come in with a bias, specifically if they're like, oh, we're going to melt down, or oh, like you got to be super careful, especially today with now you got mixed data. And if people buy the data versus buying the entire package, that's where people run into problems. Like you have to buy the whole package of what's going on out there right now. And I think that's where people run into problems with this stuff, Bob. Yeah, I'm happy that you're getting some kind of lift like this because it allows me to put more shorts on. I'm just going to be candid. I think you got to be super, super careful today. What I would tell you, what I think happens here is I think you get an extreme move. I think you get some kind of, I think the market chooses violence today. I don't know that it's going to be up. It could be because you are oversold, but I would watch the demarcation lines like super closely, and make sure that, if you're getting that one here, that you're certainly going to get that higher high. Now you're getting tighter and tighter in here. So maybe you are going to get that, but you really need to make sure that you're going to get that. And that you see that volume come in, and then understand that you could just watch it go all the way again because of what the market is. Thanks, John. So keep that in mind. Like, quad witching's no joke, and you're going to have probably one of the largest quad witchings ever today in history, because it's the end of the year of an extremely volatile year going in after a presidential election. So once this clears out, Monday will be wild. So just understand that, and we'll go from there. My position on this kind of stuff is like, I'll keep it as clean and as simple as I possibly can. If you want to be in a name and you can't even break the previous close, like you're starting to see with some of this stuff, you need to be really suspect with what you own, like real suspect, and start thinking like, oh, geez, maybe I should actually be shorting these levels, and then seeing if it, flips over. And if it does, then I'll go from there. But I think you're better off looking at it that way. I think anybody that was long is able to get out. Anybody that shorts, like foaming at the mouth, waiting to short again. And I think that's how you should look at the market. I've not added to long. I'll be very blunt. I've not added to longs. The only thing I've done on this pop was just find other things to add to shorts. But, the open's going to be wild, like really wild. What's up, John? Yeah, he's a dumpster fire, man. He's an absolute dumpster fire. Saw this with Darden. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm really not. Like, let's go look at this on the daily. I'm not really feeling that, like, at all. I'd be real careful there with this kind of stuff right now. You're not in that kind of market where this stuff's just going to follow through. Your indexes are busted. Guys, there's something seriously wrong with the market. Like, I'm going to get into it on Saturday, but there's something seriously wrong here. Like, the equal weight on the S&P is down 16 days in a row. The equal weight, like I went through, because I'm kind of a nerd like this. I can't find it where we've ever done this before. And, steel is collapsing, right? Oil is collapsing. Basic materials are collapsing. Like, this tells you recession, like it's so obvious. Like, and it might not be us that has the recession. It might be another country that has something, and then the shock waves go through that, and it could, help some domestic places like the U.S. But this is what's going on right now. So, there's something out there. That's the best way I can put it. What's up, Gilbert? I'm short. I'm probably staying short. Let's see. I'm not going to have time to go through all these. Yeah, I agree with that, Hunter. I would be like, I can't tell you, when I go through this and look, like, in the room, people know this. If you're in the community and you're in here, like 70% of our swing trades, we closed on Wednesday after his speech. Like, moved all the stops up, and the only thing I've added are shorts. It's the only thing I've done. And I think people are a little delusional that, like, one number, like, oh, we're back, bro. We have issues, like real issues. I'm calling people bro today. I don't know. I'm sorry, ladies. Everyone's bro. Yeah, just give it time, man. Like, go get a nice book. I got a great cup of coffee. I've got this stuff. What was it? Ethiopian Bonko, it's called. Oh my God, it's delicious. It's not Christmas, but it's delicious. Still waiting for Christmas blend. Thanks, man. Merry Christmas. What's up, Journal? I use several different platforms. That's one of them. I don't know. I think he's coming. Yeah, I see a lot of setups. A lot. I blew out Hood. I locked it in. I wouldn't touch AMD if it was somebody else's money. I just wouldn't. Like, nobody wants their chips. Like, literally, companies have tried to implement their chips, and then corporations that would lease that stuff are saying, yeah, we're not going to lease that from you. So I haven't even started, man. It's Toronto. You got snow? I think it's like 65 here. I was heading to New York for a little bit, and then for the weather, I'm like, no, I'm good. Good morning, Gio. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on there. Looks like solid earnings. I wouldn't touch it. I certainly would not touch it with this administration. Yeah, you know, I am surprised that I'm not seeing any kind of support for these names yet, but I'm not. And, you know, I think you have a lot of stuff there. It's going to be a problem. A lot. Humana thoughts? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. No, I mean, I wish you the best. Looks like you got a Christmas gift. Yeah, like APP. I don't know. I mean, maybe it holds. Like, guys, I think you need to really be looking at this from a holistic perspective, and not as stocks perspective, not just a stock. Like, no one's paying, you know, 60 times earnings in this market right now. Like, everyone's trying to like protect themselves, right? That's why you just saw stuff go flat. Now it's down 2.5%, like MicroStrategies. Like, everybody's literally out there going, oh my God, like, what's going on? And then, you know, something like this opens at 300 and people just paid 325 for it. Like, today's going to be wild. Just, I can't be any clearer about that. Like, wild. This is going to be a wild opening. So, you know, just when you're at the level that you said you were going to either buy or sell to close a position, if I could just give you any piece of like wisdom, that's the wisdom. When you're there, just do it. And don't be like Nike. I don't think one piece of data changes anything. You know, I think if you think one PCE changes anything, I think that's absolute delusion. Yeah, we went over that a little bit, as much as I can today. No, most of that I rolled into Argentina at this point. Actually, all of it's in Argentina now. Go Birds. It is really good coffee. I wouldn't hope for a pop, dude. You might get one today. I'm pretty sure it is, bro. And I think it's worse than we think it is. I think that's the thing that people aren't getting. Like, someone said to me today in the room, and like, it's so funny because we have people in the community that are like from Taiwan, they're in China, and they're like, why do you hate China? I'm like, I don't hate it, but, you know, stimulus until Golden Week was over, and then mainland sold us all their stock, right? Stimulus, and US and everyone else buys, mainland China sells all their stock. More stimulus, US buys, right? Everyone's got to get out, and mainland China sells their stock. Like, why am I rushing into a market that mainland China can't get out of fast enough? And all they're doing with their money, is buying bonds as fast as they possibly can. Like, they can't buy them fast enough. Like, that's not stimulus. You know, that is people going, this is way worse than we think it is. And then you look at like Hong Kong housing prices are at like back to 2013 levels. So I don't know, man. I think there's a little delusion there. People keep talking about more China stimulus. No, I don't see it doing anything. I think China's in way, way worse shape than we think it is. That's my personal opinion. And I think the market, like when you go back, like look at this, when you go back to this and people are like, oh, well, that's tariffs. Is it? Is that what it is? Because it started falling apart here. So that wasn't tariffs. And then you go to like in here and go, okay, well, this is December, right? From 2% to 1.6, 1.7. Well, that's not tariffs because he's been talking about it forever. So I think there's a lot of delusion on why what's happening is happening. And that, that's the thing that scares me because it's the second GDP globally. So, and I think it's a real issue. And so far he hasn't done anything. So you can't really say, oh, it's the current administration. Like, no, man, this has been falling apart since April. So I think there's a lot there that people need to pay attention to. So I'll just leave it at that. All right, man. Have a good weekend.